here at Shattuck Windmill Museum. We owe our founder a lot, a lady that inherited her granddad's farm, moved back here in retirement, and she, looking through pictures and rebuilding the old homestead, she wanted a windmill just like her granddad had. And he had a 10-foot Eclipse windmill. In rebuilding their house, building a studio and so on, she wanted some barn wood used, and they tore down a barn and found the skeleton of one of the Eclipse windmills. And coincidentally, about that time, there was an article about Marvin Stinson, who rebuilt windmills in Leedy, Oklahoma, in the Oklahoma City paper. And in reading that article, she decided to contact him. And well, at the time she contacted him, she hadn't found her windmill yet. And so she asked Marvin if he had a Eclipse windmill. No, but if you have one, I could sure rebuild it for you. And then later they did find the skeleton of that windmill, took it down to him. He rebuilt it, and in their acquaintance, she found out he had a lot of rebuilt old antique windmills. And he told her, well, it'd sure be nice to get them in the air, get them displayed. And he said, they don't look like much laying on piles around the edge of the shed here. So anyhow, in that article, he had stated that someday he'd have a museum if he had to start it himself. And so that put the bug in her, and she decided that she'd try to start a windmill museum to preserve this history of old windmills that we have here. So she put an article in the paper in the spring of '94, and she had enough interest, people thought that it was a good idea, that she went ahead and pursued the deal. And before she got a board organized, she was scouting out, just with the help of a couple of people, different places around town to put the museum. And they finally wound up on this triangle here at 15 and 283. And it, in my opinion, is an ideal place. We get traffic from two highways that way. She went ahead to form a board, and then they decided that they would, instead of buying windmills from him or just having an agreement to display them, they would borrow them and let him put them up here. So they started out with 4 windmills along the road, along 283. And that inspired a little more interest after we had, and they were older, unusual windmills. That being said, borrowing them, she got enough interest to where we did form the board, and well, it took off from there. And Marvin had a lot of acquaintances in antique windmill rebuilders. There's an association of windmill rebuilders. The Windmillers Trade Fair is one of their events. He got Phyllis and Dan involved with that. They met a bunch of windmill antiquers then they had a source for windmills other than the local windmills. Through that organization, they were able to obtain windmills that had a significance in history. We started fundraisers. We actually had a potluck supper, but everyone that came were also donated toward the Windmill Museum. And then later fundraisers were the Pioneer Wall. We sold bricks, and on that wall with the original settlers, we gave them orange bricks, and all of their heirs then have the red bricks. And so you can kind of, looking at the wall, see who the original settlers were. Only one of the original four is left, and that's the air motor that's the farthest north. It's an open geared air motor. Oh, there were probably some of them in this area. I think they made them up to 1910 or so. The rest of them that we had from him, he had other uses for them, and so we replaced them with other windmills. Number 5 was the duplex that's green and yellow. It's a self-regulating mill. It's a vaneless, which means the wheel is downwind. In our archive of scrapbooks, there's an article about the night we put up, or the evening we put up, number 5. And that was one of the nights that we had a supper out here, put up a tent, and then we put up that duplex windmill. It was a nice, attractive addition that really stirred interest in the park then. In this area, we had very few self-regulating windmills because they were more expensive and a lot more upkeep, and just didn't last as long. There's a lot of moving parts on a fold-up wheel windmill. Self-regulating or vaneless windmills, as the wind speed increases, the wheel will fold itself shut or out of the wind, and it's kind of hard to describe without showing.
So basically,
yeah,
part of the wind blows, it pushes these backwards, and then...
Yeah, actually the wind's coming from, the bull would be running into the wind.
Okay, so the wind is blowing this way.
Downwind. So the wind pushing on the outside of the blade. It's actually more square inches here than here.
Okay.
And then as soon as it starts folding, and then you get a centrifugal effect, because this is longer than this, and
pushes it in, it starts to straighten out.
yeah.
That's pretty neat. And then it's got this counterweight up here, kind of helps it do that, balance it.
Yeah, that it's set real light so that I can push it right now.
Okay.
The faster you wanted to run, the more you would move that counterweight to the outside of it.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, that's pretty smart.
Yeah.
And then this one, let's see here. This just is that spin to get it. It's rotational, or is it? It pulls up and down, right? Oh, it's kind of like a steam train. So as it rotates that around, that arm goes up and down and around.
Pittman.
Pittman arm.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. They weren't long-lived. That contributed to them not being around much. You don't see many of them. Well, you do in museums now. But, in this area, we had dealerships that sold Dempster and air motor windmills. In this immediate area, the Shattuck and Higgins area, that's mostly what you saw. The house we call it Pioneer House. It came from 5 miles south of town. Steinert was the family that was their first house. Oh, we moved it in here to where people could see what a lot of the pioneers did live in. It was right around 01 it says on it. Our dugout, we have, the sign says soddy. Well, it had a sod roof at the time that it was built. Whenever we moved it into town and built it, we had a sod roof on it. I think we replaced the sod about 3 times, and now it became a problem. We don't have enough active volunteers to go cut sod and haul it in, and the sod used on it was buffalo grass sod. Well, our museum, in the wintertime, we don't tend the phone much. If they call the Chamber of Commerce, they'll get a hold of us if someone's wanting to set up a tour or so on. City Hall knows who to get a hold of in order to set up a tour.
Do you guys have a website?
Yes, we do, which is poorly maintained. Yeah, this is all volunteer. Yeah, by no donations and volunteer. There's no charge for the admission to the park. The other day I had a woman stop across the highway. Thought she was going to get run over trying to take pictures crossing the road. And I told her, you know, you can drive around and park off of the highway and feel free to just walk amongst the windmills and take all the pictures you want. We won't charge you a thing, but don't stand here and get run over.
So it's a miniature for pumping water?
Yeah, it pumps too.
Little miniature there in the corner?
Yeah.
So that one actually pumps water.
Well, the one I got at the shop has a pump on it and pumps water, but this one goes up and down.
And you built that? You designed and built that yourself?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. They had a spring thing.
Oh, I see how you did that. Okay. That's cool, man.
They had a celebrate the wind thing. And anyhow, they had a windmill building contest, so I thought, I can do that. So
did you win it?
yeah.
You did? Oh, that's awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
2005?
I was the only one that built one in the adult division. There's a lot of kids build them, you know. And of course, they were cardboard and this and that, but
Spins. That's it.
yeah, you get her started.
Oh, you get it started. Okay. Just walk it. That's cool.
Yeah.